We've seen a pickup in power demand from the extreme lows in April due to the COVID-19 crisis. Power demand is only about 10% shy of what it was pre-COVID levels. Collection trends are continuing to improve in the wake of a resurgence in demand. And Praveen Sinha, MD and CEO Tata Power, will be sharing his insights on the subject and the industry at large, which is closely monitoring the situation and working towards business continuity strategies in parallel.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to join in the Economic Times Global Town Hall. The topic for discussion is infrastructure in the COVID era and way forward. And I think this is a very, very important issue, especially when we are talking about employment opportunities and Atmanirbhar Bharat, where there is a need that how do we come back and start working and ensuring that people who lost jobs during this period of COVID-19 pandemic are able to get back into the mainstream and get a living for themselves, and thereby the economic activity can get revived. In our country, we have been fortunate that the COVID impact has not impacted all the areas. Fortunately, we have the resilience and the ability to come back. And what I find is that our ability to come back and do the things is much better than anywhere else in the world. Our mortality rates have been high. Many of our workers, the migrant labor, went back to the villages, are now ready to come back and get into the mainstream of creating the infrastructure and making the new Bharat. Now, when we talk of new Bharat, and especially I will like to touch upon the space of power sector, we find that there is so much more that we can do. The new wave of renewables is catching up. Huge amount of capacity additions have happened in last few years, but we have a huge unfinished task. We have to meet a target of 175 gigawatt by 2022, which is not even just 2 years ahead. And then we have the target of 450 gigawatt by 2030. And that gives us a huge opportunity to really get ready to meet the targets that has been set by the government and the Prime Minister. Today we are only around 90 gigawatt, and that means there's another 85 gigawatt that needs to be implemented in next 24 to 30 months. We also have the target that in next 10 years, we have to reach a target of 450 gigawatt. And that means not only renewable capacity, but along with that, whole lot of activities that needs to be carried out. We need to ensure that the transmission system is good enough to carry so much of power from various parts of the country to even the remotest part of the country. We also have to ensure that the distribution of this electricity takes place in various parts of the country, especially considering that this is intermittent power. And how do we take care of intermittent power becoming firm power through hybrid solutions? And the cascading benefits that can come, wherein you will have in next 10 years, not only renewable power with storage, but will also be able to talk about the green supply of electricity or the green electricity that will be supplied to all the consumers. And I personally feel that this will create a huge amount of action in manufacturing, because if we have to have a capacity of 450 gigawatt, that means that much capacity of equipment manufacturing has to happen in our country. We cannot have such large capacity additions depending on imports of all these equipments. And that means that many more factories will be set up in our country to manufacture the solar cells or solar panels, the wind turbines, and equipments for the transmission and distribution. I think this is an opportunity for us, which we should take with both our hands, come up with a clear-cut action plan of how over a period of time we will be ramping up our production capacities, how we will be also implementing these projects how we will be training our employees who will carry out these projects in terms of capacity building for themselves, and how we will also be optimizing all our available resources to see to it that when we have completed 450 gigawatt of renewables, it is able to sustain and provide quality electricity supply to the consumers. I am very confident that we have the wherewithal, we have the capability. We just need to put few things in place, and with the right type of government support and the regulatory support that can come to, especially to the power sector, we'll be able to not only achieve this target but possibly exceed it also going forward. India has been in the forefront of renewable energy. In fact, the International Solar Alliance was set up a few years back at the behest of Indian government and the French government, and it brings together the ability of all the countries between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn to align themselves with a single purpose objective that we have an interconnected grid which can connect different countries and also continents. The one grid, one world concept, and one solar concept which is coming up is something that I'm sure will be of great interest for the Indian power companies, including suppliers of equipment, and we can really be in the forefront of driving this initiative. I hope that the infrastructure uh, development which is required in taking this forward will provide great employment opportunities to our people, as also help in moving our economy forward for the growth that it is positioned itself for. My best wishes for Economic Times for having this town hall, and I'm sure through the deliberations and the efforts of all policy makers, thinkers, practitioners, we will be able to come up with solutions which will help us to revive the economy and take it to greater height. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I hope you're gaining insights from these sessions, which we have very carefully collated and curated for you. You're, of course, welcome to visit our expo booth to resolve any session-specific queries. And in these unprecedented times, we are all here as industry professionals to support one another and grow together. So we ask that you do have a look across our various booths, speak to the experts, and identify the enterprise solutions right for you.